Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. A bit of a different background for you guys today. Actually down south, doing some work stuff. And I can promise you that it's not sunny down here either. It's just as cold and windy as it is up in Newcastle. But I'm jumping on to talk about the main man and the man who will be wearing a Newcastle United shirt very, very soon, Tino Livramento. We spoke about this guy yesterday. Things moved so quickly from what appeared to be a transfer to Newcastle that had gone a little bit quiet, a little bit stale. I wasn't sure if it was really going to go through. It was understood that Newcastle and Southampton had different valuations of the player. Was it really going to go through? And all of a sudden, bang, as of around lunchtime, the deal appears to be pretty much ready to go. In the words of Fabrizio Romano, here we go. And it's reported as of today that he's literally travelling up to Newcastle. A decent drive from Southampton to Newcastle to get his medical done and dusted at the club. The big thing that really set it all off yesterday was the fact that Southampton actually play their first game of the season tonight against Sheffield Wednesday. It was heavily reported that he would not be travelling with the squad. There was a few people backwards and forwards on this one because it was thought, you know, was he injured? Was that why he wasn't going? And fitness has been raised as a question. So I will talk a little bit about that in this video later on as well. But I think the main thing for everyone, there's, as I say, as of yesterday lunchtime, Sky Sports, BBC, Athletic, all comment on the fact that it's ready to go. And then as of today, it's now saying that he's on his way for a medical. And could we have him announced? Probably not in time for the Cellar Cup friendlies this weekend, but you'd imagine starting next week, Monday, Tuesday, signed, sealed, delivered and ready for the start of the new Premier League season. Who knows, maybe we could even announce him on the pitch this weekend at one of the two friendlies. That would be pretty good. We did the Harvey Barnes announcement out in America. Maybe we could get the Tino Livramento announcement done this weekend at the Cellar Cup. And you know, it's a decent fee we are paying for this guy. It's being reported around, well, it seems to vary between 30 to 35 million, but with around 5 million add-ons. So we could be looking at, you know, 35 to 40 million for, don't get me wrong, I think a huge talent and clearly someone Eddie Howe was very, very interested in. We have seen this a few times with players, that when Eddie Howe gets his eye on someone, he likes to stick with them. Now, the big part of this is that Chelsea, obviously Tino Livramento's ex-team, are set to get 12 to 15 million for the player, which is incredible, really. It's good business by Chelsea, you know, letting a youngster go and then picking up a fee for it. It's the same with Lavia, who's also set to be leaving Southampton. Man City are set to get a chunk of whatever he goes for. And that's why Southampton are really holding out and pushing for that little bit extra. As I mentioned earlier on, Newcastle had the valuation at around 30 million. It was said that Southampton were looking for closer to 40 million. It was then said, is that the reason why, or was it because Southampton wanted more money up front? Either way, it appears that we have now got past that and the deal is going through, and I've no doubt he will be signing a long-term future at the club. I'm seeing 4-year, 5-year contract for the player. Sky Sports and a few others are reporting that Newcastle see a bright and long future for Livramento at Newcastle United. And as I say, as a 20-year-old lad, you'd imagine they will stick him on a fairly decent and lengthy contract. Not only because we want to tie him down for, you know, a good future at the club, but that word of abbreviation that everybody loves, FFP. Because if we, for example, were signing him for, you know, let's say 30 million, and we sign him on a 5-year contract, we only have to pay 6 million. Well, we have to pay Southampton the money. If Southampton wanted 30 million up front with a 5 million in add-ons, that's what they'll get. We'll have to find the cash and we'll pay them the 30 million. But in terms of FFP and how we register it with the Premier League, we actually only have to pay 6 million this year, 6 million next year, 6 million next year, 6 million. So that's the thing when we talk about how we let Maxi go, and people are obviously still, you know, upset about that one. People are upset about the fact that we've sold Maxi for 30, we've bought Livramento for 40. What's going on there? How do those two add up? How do we have the extra money? How do we have Barnes and Livramento for 35 and 40 million when we only sold Maxi for 30? Does it make sense that Livramento's worth 40 if Maxi was only worth 30? But the whole thing really is that of the 30 we accepted for Maxi this summer, we're only spending 6 million on Livramento this summer. We're only spending 7 million on Barnes this summer. So despite the fact that we've, and again, I think Maxi was worth more than 30, but that's a different topic for a different video. What I will say is that for right now, we haven't had to put in all that money already. We've paid basically, in the eyes of FFP, almost like a down payment on each of those players that we will have to continue paying off over the next few years. But as Peter Silverstone has said recently, they want to build commercial deals. Look, if we go and get an Adidas deal next year, not too dissimilar to the Manchester United one, 700 million over 10 years or whatever, all of a sudden, fair enough, we have to pay more for Barnes next year, more for Tonali next year, more for Livramento next year, probably more for Bruno still next year, and Dan Burn and a few other players. When we pick up these commercial deals coming into next year, Champions League, we can worry about it then. But as I say, I think it will be a long-term future at the club. We'll wait to hear a little bit more on that contract and on him, getting to the training ground, getting that medical done and getting announced. I'd love to see it at the Seller Cup this weekend. Maybe Sunday is a possibility. If not, possibly get the tournament done and dusted this weekend and then back in on Monday for the announcement of the new player. And that's the thing, isn't it? Because people are saying right back, is that the position that we need? Because really, Trippier's number one. Trippier will play number one. He will be Champions League, he'll be Premier League. We want to get him playing as much football as he can. But it looks like Ashby's away on loan. It looks like, really Crafty and Mankiw is as much work as they've put in at the sides are not Champions League players, and you can look at Trippier and say he's 32, and I think Trippier will sign another extension. I can see Trippier still being here for another 2-3 years. Pace isn't massive to Trippier, so I think it changes game an awful lot, but it will be great to have a youthful player coming in behind him. We thought it was going to be Ashby. It seems there's different thoughts on that one. It looks like Livramento will be that player. And to use an example, Callum Wilson, for me, I think has had the best season I've seen him having a black and white shirt, possibly of his career. He's said what a great season it was for him. Using him as an example, how good he was this season? He played less games. He was sharing the role with Isak, and he was brilliant, because it meant when he was playing, he was at his best. And that's for, a player a little bit older, a little bit longer in his career. Will we get the best out of Trippier in those Champions League games when we really need him, in those big Premier League games when we need him? Because Livramento was able to play. Someone chokes to death behind me over there. Because Livramento was able to play some of those other games. Some of those teams against promoted sides at home and a few others. If we can really start to ease Livramento in, I say ease, I think he's probably ready to play every Premier League game, to be honest, and he's probably trying to give him as much experience as possible. But coming in behind Trippier isn't a bad one. Learn from the best and hopefully can become the best in a few years' time. And obviously you can't cover left back, which is a big help as well. I did mention fitness, so I will round off on that one. A few people obviously know that Eddie Howe was pretty big on fitness, and Livramento has come off the back of an injury. He only played the last few games of last season, has had pretty much a stop-start pre-season at Southampton. Coming into the sides, I think it might take him a little bit of time to catch up on where Eddie Howe likes his players to be. But, as I've mentioned already, Trippier will be starting the season anyway, so I think he will have time to get into it. But as I say, big news, and as the words of Fabrizio Romano, here we go. It looks like it's a fee of around 35 to 40 million. We're looking at around a 5-year contract. The medical will hopefully be completed very, very soon. And an announcement, I think Sunday might be a little bit too soon with a lot going on. Maybe Monday after the tournament, ready for the build-up to the start of our first home game against Villa. All right, guys, thanks for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts on Livramento down below. Are you looking forward to seeing him in a black and white top rather than a red and white? Comment down below. Enjoy your Friday, and I'll catch you later.